Hello, well today I'm making some outfits for my Grodnator dolls, and I've completed one so far, and I thought I'd show you how I'm doing the other ones, or at least some of the things I've learnt. I'll be quite upfront, I have not done much actual sewing on a sewing machine. I'm pretty accomplished on a leather sewing machine, but not with fabric, and it is quite different. Anyway, here we have a Grodnator 1, I need to give her a name really, and she's got a nice little silk top with pearl necklace, little lace trims on her cuffs, overskirt, and then a nice cotton underskirt. And underneath, shouldn't really do this, we have some nice little petticoat. So there you are, at the back. That's the back view, a nice full dress there in a nice, as I say, nice blue silk. So I have a box of scrap fabric offcuts from various sort of projects that my wife Sarah's been doing on and off over the years, and I have some ladies waiting to be clothed. I have actually just started to do the underskirts on a couple of them. So I'll be honest, I didn't bother making a paper pattern for the top at first, and it was a big mistake. So one of the first learning points I had was, do make a pattern. My wife Sarah did say, make a paper pattern. I actually made a paper pattern and it was a little bit stiff, so I have then made this PVC pattern, just so I've got something to sort of work to. By the way, as a little side interest here, I have this nice old needlework box, which was my mother's. She died last year, sadly, with COVID, but I now have this rather nice sewing box. It's a nice little memory of my mum. I grew up with sewing machines all around me, very much like this, but I never did any sewing other than when I was about 18 I made a pair of trousers. That's really all I'd done. But my mum, my sisters, but my mum in particular, made all of her clothes and made a lot of my clothes when I was a youngster, and it was very nice. The sound of that sewing machine, one like this anyway, it was always a joy to hear. I do love the mechanical winding for the bobbins here. Very old-fashioned but very effective. It's basically a cam gear and it works really well. It actually sort of layers the cotton thread wonderfully evenly on the bobbin. You see this little arm going to and fro. I'll zoom in really close. These old machines are beautifully made. I have got a modern electric one I could be using, but I do rather like this old machine, so I end up certainly got the odd leather job where it's a very lightweight leather. I end up using this machine. So it's a hand crank, weighs a ton. The cotton thread, I got a whole lot of Coates Moon thread in a sort of bulk box for very, very little. It's quite an effective way of buying some reasonable quality thread. In a minute that arm there will ping back once the bobbin's full, and it stops you basically overfilling the bobbin, which is rather clever as well. Hey, there we are, pinged up, and I can't wind any more on, it just stops. Over the years I seem to have amassed quite a few Singer sewing machine feet with various machines. Anyway, I've been playing around with them and they are very, very clever little sort of things. This is a ruffler foot and it can do very neat ruffles. It does work quite well. I tried a hemmer foot, but this one does a nice little fold over seam for a hem. I found it quite fiddly feeding the fabric in. You feed it in and it essentially curls it and then you stitch it. And it's very clever, and I think if you did it all day you'd probably get quite good at it. I tried for probably 2 or 3 hours messing around with it, and my results were a bit hit and miss. So I'll probably need to watch some more YouTube videos on that and see how the experts do it. But it's quite interesting, all the different feet. A lot of people said to me, coming to this without much experience, don't bother with any of the feet, just you know, do a fold over and sew by sort of folding fabric over. And I must say, by and large, it works quite well. So I'm able to do a nice little fold there. It's probably a bit big, but hey, none of this has got to be too smart. The originals were never very smart. So then I can just go along and put my row of stitching in, and you get this lovely calming noise of the machine. So every now and again, fold that over, give it a little flick, and do the next bit. Oops. Using fabric, it's so different to leather, and I can see I have a huge amount to learn with this, but it is quite interesting trying something that's out of my normal comfort zone. And I did think, actually, get a bit better at this, I can make some fabric liners in bags, which would be quite nice. So I'm just going to put this sort of lace on this underskirt. I just think it adds a little bit of interest and makes it a bit more fun. This actually is just an offcut. I don't know, it came off something long ago, but you can buy sort of bags of offcuts. So if you go on to the likes of eBay, you can get quite good notions and ribbons, lace and other stuff. So, and very, very cheaply, like sort of remnant ends. It's quite good. Anyway, I will sew this down. I may sew a couple of lines. I'm going to sew it along this top line first and then maybe see how it goes. It may flow enough actually like that. It's funny being able to use pins, because I'm so used to leather work where you can't use any pins. You end up using glue or double-sided tape. So it is quite strange, really. Always tricky getting elastic round into seams. I can remember my mum used to use a hair grip and pull it down. Of course nowadays, maybe you could have years ago, but you can get these little wires which you can attach your elastic to and then pull it through. And it's quite a clever little way of doing it. There we are, through it comes. So there you are, one little underskirt made up. That will give the dress a nice bit of body when I come to do the main outer dress. It's a bit crazy in a way trying to do something like this when it's totally out of my comfort zone, but I find that you learn little things. You learn about how to manage a different kind of material, and you learn the little techniques, and some of those will be transferable across to my leather craft. So by trying different things, I think you do widen your repertoire. So I can get a couple of skirts out of these pieces, and I'll do that next. Very similar sort of construction to how I've done the petticoat. So there you are, jacket completed. It's got a little couple of poppers on the back to keep it closed at the back. And I've chosen a set of green silk to go with the green dress. The construction of this, I kept it very simple. So I had my pattern. I then cut out a bit of fabric. And I made it just a tad bigger than the pattern in actual fact. I used pinking shears around the edge. They're like serrated scissors, and they're quite useful as they stop it fraying quite so readily. And then you have to sort of think about your sewing sequence. So you have this like shape and what I did the ends of the sleeves first, sewed them down. You have to get the order right with all of this. I did the neck, just cut little slots in the sides and sewed that down, so very simple sort of neck. And then ditto with the hems at the bottom, just folded them over, sewed them down, so it gave me flush hems on the outside. I then just folded the whole thing in half like that, and I was able to then sew under the arms each side and then turn the whole lot out, and you end up with a top like that. So what I'm going to be doing next, I'm going to make like an overdress in the same material. So you got your petticoat, top dress, and then like an overdress matching this to bring it all together. So with the overdress, I've actually cut two here for a couple of dolls. It's quite large when you see it as a blank piece of fabric. All of this gets gathered, you see, so you have to make it probably double the sort of size you otherwise would. And what I've done, I've put a curve at the sort of bottom in each case so it sweeps back nicely. And to get the curve the same on all, I've like folded it in half and then sewn the curve. So that will be the top, that will be the bottom. So what I'll be doing now is same as before, basically seaming and putting elastic in the top, seaming around here, and it's that simple. And here she is all finished, having a nice little rest by the sewing machine. So there you have it. I've quite enjoyed doing the sewing. I'm learning quite a lot. I've got another couple of dolls to go, so I've got two done at the moment. So here they both are. Whoops. And it's very, very different to the leatherwork sewing. The fabric responds totally differently on a machine, and yeah, I know I've got a lot to learn with it, but I'm finding the more I do, the slightly better I'm getting, which is interesting. You learn little things as you go along. But I enjoyed doing these. I've got a couple more I'll be finishing off, but this one is actually going to be going to a new home today. Hopefully bring a bit of joy and pleasure in the world. So yeah, there you are, making outfits for Dutch dolls. You can imagine, as I've been doing this, I've sort of been thinking of the children who would have had a go at making an outfit, and it would have been an excellent way really, because you would have bought this doll at a fair or somewhere for a penny or whatever, and then the child would have taken it home and they would have had a go at sewing, and they'd get some like basic skills which would be useful, you know, make, do and mend and repair in later life. In fact, it's coming back a bit more now perhaps, with people trying to preserve the resources that we have. But you know, you can go into your scraps box, because this is all just completely remnants, and you can make something and you learn a few things. So if I now had to try and make a shirt or repair a shirt, I might have a go at some point, I can see that I would, you know, be a bit better at it than I have been. So yeah, there she is out underneath, nice little skirt with the lace, top wrap, and then little cuffs. So a bit of fun. So bye bye. We're calling this one Charlotte. I don't know what the new owner will call her. But yeah, bit of fun.